Hi guys, this is Bobby at Copel TV Repair. Today with a video about about RCA LED40HG45RQ, and there is a bunch of other similar ones like 40H only, which this may or may not apply. That was a weird problem, and I want to show it. I know there was a LED 40H, not HG, or 45 HQ. So the problem with that TV was, sorry, this is assembled here, as you can see. The problem with that TV was that when it came, it was showing up the red standby light when it's connected to power, and when the power button is pressed, it was turning green, but the backlight did not come up, and I couldn't get sound out of it. More about that in a second. And normally the first thing that I would think with an LED TV, and cheap as they make them, was that an LED would have blown and an LED strip will have to be replaced, or all of them, whatever. But then I tested them. It's very simple. It just has one circuit of LEDs here, plus and minus. So I did test them with an LED tester, and they worked just fine. The LEDs were correct. And then the next thing that one would naturally do is, of course I don't have schematics for that, and the next thing that I would do is try to plug in sound into the board and try to get, by pressing the input button, move to the appropriate input to see whether I can get sound out of it. To see whether the main board at least is processing fine, which is going to tell me a good deal of things. I tested the HDMIs as well. They were fine. No shortage on any of the inputs, suggesting that externally it would have been damaged or something. So the TV was responding to power on, power off, but it wasn't starting the light, and I couldn't get any sound out of it. Now normally on most TVs, when you press the input, it scrolls through the inputs, but on this one it doesn't work that way. You have to press the input, and then you have to go up and down with the buttons, unless you probably have a remote. I know that because I used a different board from a slightly different TV. This is a version that made the TV come up with light and everything, but because from a different TV, it is a different board, even though it looks very much the same. It is not. Apparently it's based on the same IC and everything, but it is from a different model, and the EEPROM for it is different, and the output signal for it is different for the plasma panel. This one doesn't have a dedicated T-cone. The T-cone is on that board as well. And long story short, I saw that it was different, but I didn't go at length as to how to switch the inputs to see whether the board worked fine or not. Instead, considering how cheap they were, I just, step before, the next thing that one would think is wrong would be the EEPROM. And I played a little bit with different EEPROMs from that board and from a different board, and I didn't get anywhere with that. But naturally, you would think that that's what it would be, because EEPROMs, especially the small ones, tend to fail a lot. And ultimately, I ended up buying another board off eBay. And it came today, and I plugged it in, and it worked fine. And as fate has it, it wasn't before that board arrived here. The board that arrived today is actually right now underneath. It's mounted already, and I'm going to be leaving it in the TV. It wasn't before that board arrived when I started looking into, having another board exactly like this one. I could go and run some checks. Then I noticed something odd about the original board in the TV, and what was odd was that this transformer was tilted to the inside. It's maybe not a transformer, it's maybe just a coil. And what it turned out being was that the outside end of it was totally loose. I mean, totally loose. It was just hanging outside. It's, let me see, it's currently connected, so maybe not a very good idea to play. Let me disconnect that, and what it was where was it? Hold on a second, the transformer is right here, that's what it is. Sorry about the bad video. So that was totally loose. Descent. And plugging it in and soldering it, sure enough, made the board work. And the reason for that video, and what I think will hopefully help someone, is to not jump and buy EEPROM just because it is a main board and it sounds like it. There are many times when EEPROMs hold well. This is up to a board design, you know, how long it can hold after something is interrupted, and the proper shutdown procedure. Now, shutdown procedure is usually once fixed by firmware, and no critical things are done at that point. Hardware design, though, if hardware engineers don't give enough time for the main board to shut down properly, and if they're storing information during shutdown, and if that's not done again correctly, bad things can happen. EEPROM can get messed up, even though they're more and more protected against things like that. Anyhow, with this, good luck. If it happened to me, apparently there wasn't enough soldering here. This is very cheap board. But if it happened to me, it will more than certainly happen to somebody else. If you got the TV to start up, maybe if you have sounds, and make sure you test the backlights and they work fine. Take a look at the soldering down here, possibly on other places, of course. If there wasn't enough solder there, chances are there won't be somewhere else as well. Those things usually happen, solder corrosions on joints where there is a high frequency, high voltage. I've seen things like that, high current, if there is one. I've seen things like that happen in the furnace at my house, in the fridge in my house, other power places. I've sure seen them enough on plasma power supply boards. This is the first time I see it on an LED. It was literally loose, and apparently nobody has played with that. But that's what it was. Hope it helped somebody. Best of luck, and see you again.